a second. All right, guys. Hey, thank you everyone for tuning in tonight, or hello to those of you that are watching the replay. I'm Jason Grubb. Many of you know, have a YouTube channel, and I try to share as much of my experience as I can with Masters athletes, because it's just an important thing. I think as Masters athletes, we often get overlooked, but we're starting to see, the CrossFit Games really work on trying to get coverage for us and highlight us in various areas, which is really cool. And then we have organizations like the Legends Championship and even the Masters Fitness Collective, which highlight Masters athletes in a very specific, dedicated way. And we just came off from the Legends Championship, which was 2 weekends ago. I'm not sore now, which is great, although I was sore, most of that week. And I have Rick Stevenson with me. Rick is the 50 to 54-year-old second place CrossFit Games champion. I'm going to call him the second place champion because he tied for first in 2022, but lost to the tie break. And it was Rick's rookie year. And, there's just not a lot of rookie 50-year-olds that go out there and tie for first at the CrossFit Games. It's a long journey. It takes a ton of work. And I'm glad to have Rick. Rick is our resident professor. He's just a guy that I found knows everything about every age group. That's my perception. He's done some work.
We'll see.
We can talk about all these different issues. And what we want to do tonight together is we just want to chit chat about the various age groups and some of the results that came in during the Legends Championship this year at Mayhem. Again, 2 weeks ago, we were both competing there. And while we were there, we're really focused on what we're doing, but we're also really curious about what's going on in the other age groups. We've watched most of the live footage and had a good time doing that. And now we just wanted to chit chat about these age groups. So jumping into it, Rick, hello. Thank you for jumping in. What is the temperature outside?
It is 1 degree outside, and I'm in Northeast Ohio, and it's a wind chill about 25 below, which for any of those paying attention are probably going to be very similar to almost everybody but Jason right now. I think the entire country but Jason is in a deep freeze. Friends in Texas,
I got a little
same
bit of
thing.
Yeah.
You name it.
I got a sunburn today. I got a little sunburn today. Sitting outside this morning. It was 70 degrees at 8 in the morning. And it's not now. It's cold. It's going to be 30 degrees tonight. People in Orlando are going to lose it when they wake up to 30 degrees tomorrow, but it's still not zero. So that's
Protect
nice.
the citrus. Protect the citrus crops.
That's right. All right. Well, Rick, hey, what were some of the highlights that you saw? Let's start with the oldest age groups.
Sure.
These are the 65 plus Masters. Amazing athletes. I know if we start with the men, what I do know is that Cal Charrington, who won the whole thing, this was his last last competition. He's done. He's retired.
Mm-hmm. Retired.
What else do we know about this age group?
Well, he capped it off in style. Let's put it that way. He was coming off a Games win this past August, so rolled through and obviously stayed healthy. It was a small field for 65 plus for Legends. There were 3 people in their age group, so they all worked hard. They were able to all stand on the podium together. But when you look at the results, it was really a battle back and forth of, I'll win one, you win one. Jim Pieper took second place there, and Jim also made an appearance in Madison this past summer. But Cal capped off his, if that is the way he's going to go out, he capped it off in style with a championship there. Let's see he won the last 4 events in a row. So to say he pulled away, only having 3 people, there wasn't a lot of point separation. But to close with 4 events, including that old school 1 and old school 2 back-to-back wins. Now we're going to talk about that a lot because those were the last 2 events on Sunday. The 4-minute, rest 1 minute, 3-minute blasters, and there was a lot of podium movement across a lot of age groups, but we'll get to that. But hats off to Cal. I'd love to be still doing it at that age.
And he may be maybe one of the nicest human beings I've met. He's very
Yes.
humble, and I believe he was at the games in 2018 on my rookie year, I think, if not 2019, but I'm pretty sure he was there in 2018, and just was so cordial, welcomed me into the pack, into the fold, makes everyone around him feel great, and yeah, he wins with 788 total points. I think there was a total of 800 points in their age division.
Right.
And even with 3 guys, I mean, what a fantastic way to cap it off. I totally agree. He's a good dude. And, great job, Jim Pepper and Steve Swanson, for just going out and battling as well. How about the 65-plus ladies?
Oh, that was Julie Holt's show, to be honest with you here. Standing there on the other side, right next to Cal. She had 5 event wins on the weekend. And, not to sound like a broken record, but she's the defending games champ as well from Madison here. She is also a 4 times games competitor. So she has the experience, showed a little bit deeper field here for the 65-plus ladies, which is great to see. And I know that they were profiled quite a bit on the Mayhem channels when some of the breaks that we saw, especially afterwards. The 65-plus women were a bit of a focus. Yeah, they had 7 in their division. Liz Cole with the silver second, and Betty Harden took third.
And in their
this past weekend,
in their final workout, they were doing barbell front squats as well as pull-ups. Was that the combination?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was still pull-ups, right?
Wow, amazing.
It wasn't chest to bar. It was pull-ups. Yeah.
No. So did
they got through it fast.
I listened to their events. They got, I imagine it was really fast. Well, good for them. Julie Holt, Liz Cole, Betty Harden, again, standing up on top of the podium. I think they were more nimble getting onto the podium than I was. I had help getting on the podium. That was pretty sore. So that was very cool. Well, let's go and start with ladies first, just to throw a curveball at you for the 60 to 64. Let's stay with the ladies. I know Patricia McGill was on top.
Yep.
How did that go down?
I'm moving to that right now because I do know. Actually, she defended her Legends title. In fact, she was get my years right. She was a 2021 Legends champ. So she stood on top of the podium again. She did enough what she needed to on Sunday. She took a 4th and a 2nd in Old School 1 and Old School 2. It was a pretty sizable margin when they finished up here. It was over 100 points. It was 106 points over Karen Smith and Debbie Corwin. But Patty, she's a 3 times games competitor. She's taken 2 seconds and a 3rd. But Debbie, I give a shout out to her. She took a tie for 6th and a tie and then 14th, but that was just enough to hold on to the podium there. So hats off to her as well.
Yeah, amazing. All right. Let's go 60 to 64 men. What was going on in that category? We've got Brian Wilson. Great guy. He has as much energy as anyone in the room. As far as I hung out with him for a few minutes, lots of energy. Great guy. Yeah,
I'd say nothing was comfortable, but a reasonably comfortable win. About over 40 points there over Tony Tursky. Just moving to that right now. Tursky did secure his 2nd. He had a 1st and a 2nd in Old School 1 and 2 here. And he was on the podium also in Madison. And, he's a bit of a redemption. He's a bit of a redemption story. And if you go back to one of the Masters chatters not too long ago, he was profiled and interviewed and tells a really good story. Everybody deserves a second chance, and Tony certainly made the most of it. I wanted to find him and introduce myself to him, but with either warm-up times or whatnot, I didn't have my head on straight. So hats off to both
and
Brian,
300 athletes.
Brian and Tony.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
in
that's
a very
great.
small space. It felt like we were climbing all over each other sometimes in that warm-up area.
We really were. Where would you like to go next?
Oh, you want to bounce back to the ladies?
Let's do it. Love it.
Okay.
Women
All right.
50 to 59.
55 to 59. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is again, this is a repeat of really last year's Legends field as well.
Wow.
Yeah. Ms. Bunch, she held off Christy Lunny. She won by 16 points. It was two wins and a third in her last 4 events. That really pulled her clear. She was also a Games Champ in 2022. So there's a theme developing in these older age groups. They qualified. It was a long qualification process, as we know, for the games, but people were able to execute in Madison, stayed healthy. And, you know, we've heard you say this a number of times already, but I think it'll be repeated here, is how good of an event this was, how, you know, Bob and Joe were able to pull everything together, and it really brings in the type of high caliber athletes that they're looking for, and through different ways of qualification, of course, in person, through CrossFit semis and defending champs like yourself.
Yeah.
But,
so far, it is really interesting with, you know, you bringing in that context that, you know, a lot of the winners here are winners at the games. There's a lot of games athletes that cross over into this competition. Yep. This isn't just some random Masters competition. This is, you know, I think some of the best. I know that you and I will talk about this when we get to our divisions about, well, I know for my division, I'll chat about the, you know, everyone that I could expect to be competing with at the games was here. Really interesting,
right?
That these athletes at all of our ages were able to carry forward the momentum from the games deep into the off season, which is what we just kind of came out of, and then perform at the level that we performed at in the beginning of December. Pretty wild.
Over 4 days too. Let's not forget that. It was an extra day. You know, all inside, thank goodness, given the rain that was going on there. But you know, it's a longer, and you know, you throw an extra day of competition. That's you know, more to think about, more warm ups, more cool downs, more nerves. How to fuel yourself between workouts. What to do to prepare yourself for the next day. So if you're only doing that 3 days at most competitions, and then you throw a 4th day in, it takes its toll.
And a lot of these races that we're talking about and that we'll continue to talk about came down to the last event. So it's not like you couldn't wake up on day 4 and coast your way to victory. You know, that's a place that I prefer to be.
Right.
But that's not how it went for almost all the divisions. We had to come, and while we're at our sorest, and we are very tired. Day 3, I was pretty tired going into day 3, and day 4 was, you know, honestly, I like more days. I want more days. Give me more time. I need more time, right? But we had to go in and perform at the absolute highest capacity on day 4. It was some of the most intense short burst workouts that we've had.
Right.
And that's wild. It's really fun that they bring that to us, give us 4 days of testing, which is a lot like the individual athletes at the games. They get these 4-day experience and this full test, and that we have to do that come December in Cookville, hopefully many, many years to come, hopefully.
Well, and as you said, you'd like to coast. You'd like to be in that position. Going back to Patty McGill's, what I say was like a 106-point win. I bet you if you asked her, it wasn't a coast. You still did the work. There was no doubt about it. But knowing in the back of your mind, okay, I've got a little bit of a lead. But you look at these athletes after those 8 total minutes, and no one looked like they coasted, whether they won by 100 points or as you're going to see in a couple of these age groups, if you won by 2 points. And you knew you were warming up for only one true event, if you will. You just had to, you had to sell out for that.
1,000%.
So yes, that was women.
Well,
women 55.
Yeah, let's talk about the guys.
Yeah. Over on the men's side, now here's a case where it was a little bit of a shakeup going into the final day, and I want to get my numbers right. So let me just switch back over to men 55 to 59 and the laptop. Yeah, Mr. Cravata, Guy Cravata. That was, and I'm going to struggle with his last name. I apologize. He still finished on the podium in second place. But he had John, I want to say, I heard it pronounced a couple of times, and don't want to butcher it. He did have the lead going into the final day. Okay.
He did.
And Guy finished seventh, took a tie for seventh and a ninth place, which was enough to overtake John by just 4 points. So here's a case coming into that final event. There was enough, and it was, and then Andy Coleman, who I did meet in Madison. I remember saying hi to him. He was in fourth going into this final day, and did enough to climb onto the podium himself. He did it with a win in Old School 1. So, you were in a different position than I was, and these gentlemen and ladies too. But even though you knew what you had to do in that first event, 1 minute wasn't enough to process. In your case, you knew you had to stay ahead, and we'll get to that. But for the folks that were multiple points behind, the way you finished or got capped in that first 4 minutes, you probably didn't know how the math was all playing out, especially if you got capped because of the previous heats for these age groups. In most cases, there was an earlier heat. So the numbers, you just knew you had to put the pedal down, and you kind of knew you had a good finish, but you could not rest because that 1 minute you had enough time to get back to your start line, take a deep breath, and go back to work.
And go for broke. And go for broke.
Go for broke.
Absolutely.
So hats off to Andy for, again, doing enough in that Old School 2. He took a 13th in that event, climbed onto the podium, 28 points on the podium for Andy. So congratulations to Guy. That was an exciting race. The guy, we were not fully warmed up yet when they were going, so we were kind of watching that out of the corner of our eyes, just the flow. So, and then to able to see it on the live stream later on, that was fun.
So much fun to go back and watch the live stream. And actually, since we're talking about the live stream, or we're on it, the live stream was so well done. I went back through and watched the last 4 hours of the live stream just this afternoon while I was training. So I was listening to it and watching it, and just thinking about how professional it was, and how, Sean Woodland and Annie Sakamoto, they knew the athletes in every single division. Hearing Sean Woodland do the play-by-play, I don't have any idea how he does that for heat after heat after heat after heat, and is able to call it so quick. And I know he's up there looking at pages and watching the action, looking at pages. Just stud, absolute pro. Who is looking really fit lately, by the way. I've just seen him in a couple of videos. He's looking good. So, Sean Woodland, we applaud you. You're doing a great job.
He's getting enough sleep now. If you listen to their podcast,
finally,
his sleep is finally starting to round into shape, and we all know how much that's going to help him. Ladies?
Well,
ladies, 50 to 54?
Yes.
Yeah, this was fun.
54. Let's do it.
Here you want to talk about a larger field. Okay, as the age groups gets younger, Bob and Joe were able to build out larger fields, both from all the qualifications and the ladies here. Now, this is what we'll call truly a dominant performance by Taya Gebbe. She was in Madison, took second this past year. I was able to spend some time talking to her between events. Got to talk to her a lot in Wisconsin over the summer, but then it was nice to catch back up with her. She really put the pedal down this weekend. This was a strong field of women. Not every one of them had games appearances like hers, but it was a challenging field, and she finished second in endless ergs, and then ran the table, won every single event. In fact, it took just a tie in Old School 2 because, like most of us, everyone was capped and just finished with the same amount of reps. Here is I have to go down to Keely Ellers, excuse me. Gotcha. So Taya Taya ran the table there. That was pretty nice to see. Julie Rappaport.
Was this her first time at Legends? Do you know?
That I'm not sure of. I didn't ask her, and myself not being in San Diego last year, I know she wasn't at Phoenix.
Right.
2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you about San Diego.
Sure.
Sorry about that.
She came in and killed it. She's absolutely killed it.
She's super nice, and just you watched her work. We were, again, the way the competition times were, we didn't see as much of them live. They were even over in the other competition floor. Kind of flip-flopped with the males a lot of the time, but she's a tactician. There's no doubt about it, and it definitely showed. So that was good. And then Denise Alba, she rounded out the podium, took third, 608 points. Again, it was the podium finishers plus even rounding up top five, Jen Donaldson there. She's from our area, so I have to give a shout out to Jen. We've seen each other in local competitions, and now we're seeing each other in national competitions. So it's kind of nice.
Good.
Of those top five, most of those ladies placed very high in Old School 1 and Old School 2 to finish strong. And outside of Taya, who was secure going in, the other two secured their places on the podium.
In those last two events. Wow.
Yes, in those last two events.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Taya was very happy about taking second, and she showed that. I couldn't imagine that. Even you didn't have a weekend like that. I mean, that was something else. Males.
Well, let's jump into your age group.
Yeah. Again,
This is your hometown right here.
Oh yeah. It was a good field. It was fun. It's great to see a lot of guys. Again, as I just said, the field became a lot deeper, more competitors. We did have a few that I believe qualified. It didn't show. I think we all experienced that one way or another, travel injuries that happened. But we had a close weekend for the most part. Nobody really separated themselves. The lead, I know, was passed back and forth a number of times between Nick Carbelis, Rowan Lowe, and Corey Dagg. Nick did have I think it was a 2-point lead going into the final day. And Corey and Rowan were able to do enough to overtake him, but Nick held on to the podium. And I know how hard Nick's worked. He's recently done a moves, kind of not had as much time maybe to train as he would have liked to have. But it was great to see that. And Corey is, along with a couple others, especially Mr. Tim Anderson there, they recently celebrated birthdays, so we all know how this goes. Age up into a division, and you strike while you can. And Corey and Tim were examples of that. It was fun. Especially, I love the final two workouts. Again,
what were they like for you?
Experience.
Tell us about your experience in that.
I love muscle ups, either bar or ring. So we had a feeling watching the first few heats, nobody was going to break. If you didn't have to break in the first set of 12, you weren't going to. So it was able to really try to do as much as I could that first workout. What did I even finish? I took third in that event. I probably didn't cycle the front squats as fast as I needed to now when you look back on it. The muscle ups were not an issue. Corey took the event win. And then the second one, again, there is no time to think. You had enough time to just kind of adjust everything, walk back, stand on the start mat, and 3, 2, 1, go. You were back. We had a 1-inch riser on our handstand push-ups. They were strict handstand push-ups, whereas I don't think you had a riser. You were just you were okay. We
were flat.
So the handstand push-ups were not really a problem. I just struggled on going touch and go with the sandbags. And again, not long after I was done, I had a text from my coach, and he said, "Don't worry, we'll be doing some work on sandbags." So I knew that was coming. But when I look back at the video, because I certainly wasn't paying attention to what was going on too many lanes down, Roan Lowe, who did win the event, made those sandbags look super light, was able to touch and go. Now, we could, at our weight, a lot easier than your weight. The sandbags jumped up. The discount left the 50 to 54 and the younger age groups like yourself.
You guys were 125 on the sandbag?
Well, yeah, okay. We were 100. That's how bad it got. Now, it said 125, but we got to the venue that day and found out that Mayhem only had six 125-pound bags. Okay. So they knew they could not run any age group that had 125. They had enough 100, so they threw hundreds in. So there was no excuse for me. But those that finished better, hats off to those guys. They did the work. Yeah. So 100. The bigger guys tossed in like bags of flour. Showed control, and they were
absolutely. Yep. And that's having that new standard where you have to show that arm release.
Do you like it?
It just requires. I love it. Absolutely.
I do too, and I've heard some pretty positive feedback from other people too. Yeah. I mean, it takes the guesswork out of the judges.
Yeah,
right.
That's
Nobody's
what we're always looking for.
Jelly legging it or arching the back or it's rolling over the side of the shoulder or whatever. It makes it very clear. The judge can clearly see that you've showed control. I bet you that trickles down to many more competitions now for programmers. That's just how they're going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just one of those things that like double unders or bar muscle ups, it's going to take a little bit of practice to coordinate, to train your brain to get it up on your shoulder, put your arm out, grab it, touch and go over and over again. That's not a common movement for us, but it's easy to learn. And, a few sessions of practicing, and that's just going to be the way we do it. So I think it's a great standard. And I love that they just threw it at us with no major explanation. Just get it on your shoulder, show control with your arm out, and be, arm out is a funny thing because it just had to be out and above our waist. So we had our arms all over, flailing around everywhere.
When you look at these videos that many times, there were arms just flying on it. I mean, it was just shooting your arm out. Everybody had a different position, a different angle, and you saw the judges clearly count them. So, we might have something there. Yeah, but also, I think what took away from some of the hesitancy of that new standard was we can only say for this competition is they told us we did not need to change shoulders. You could go all one shoulder. So I think people are generally more comfortable with the sandbag over one shoulder than the other, knowing that you could just keep going back to that shoulder as long as you met that standard. I think got people a little bit more accepting of that. So absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Good time.
Yeah, very much. And we should be doing it to every other shoulder in training, obviously, but in competition, it's going to go up on I don't even know which shoulder. It had to go on my right shoulder. That's the only way.
It goes up on my left shoulder. I'm left-handed.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll do it.
Yeah, it's just a more comfortable side. It's always been a more comfortable side. I'm sure everybody has a favorite side to hike the bag up and over.
It's like whichever leg we jerk with is how we we have all those.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt.
All right, so the men 50 to 54.
Yeah,
super close. What was it like for the women?
Well, no, we're moving down to women 40.
That's it. Women 45, 49.
Women 45, 49. That was Carol Mezzin's show. I'll get her point total again here, but she won Legends back in 2019. I do know that. So she was back. Okay. She won another championship here. She actually had only one event win on the weekend, but her consistent finishes, you can tell across the she accumulated enough points. Angie Penny and nosed her out by just 8 points there. So I know Carol loves this event. We've heard her on again on Masters Chatter before. She's been a favorite of this. I think her schedule allows. Her schedule obviously allowed enough training time and travel time, and it worked out. Yeah. So there's a 2 times legend champ, and for her, and then have to say give a shout out here to Jen Dieter as well. She took 27th in the first event. we heard her how disappointed she was in that, didn't like that with the machines. But what she did in the final one, she took a third and a second in the last two events in old school 1 and 2, and moved herself up comfortably into 7th place. I know that wasn't the weekend that she exactly envisioned, but then again, that's that never give up, you know. And looking at events where it's in your event, movements are in your wheelhouse, take advantage of it.
Well, and for her, exactly. And those were her wheelhouse events. It finally got heavy enough that she had an advantage. I believe Jen is very good at gymnastics, but she also likes to move heavy things quickly. And she can suffer. And how did you? What did you think about that first event?
And the Surgs. I was a little nervous. I was nervous going into that one. Not so much because of unfamiliarity with the machines, because we heard that with a couple of folks who don't have a C2 bike, access to a C2 bike. We're very fortunate that our gym has a few of them and we've trained on them. I was just, I'm not the largest athlete, so I was worried about falling behind from the outset with 7 minutes of on the rower. And you know how close our lanes were, but it was still pretty difficult to do too much peaking where everybody was. And at best, you could see lanes, just the 2 lanes next to you, and that was it. So there could have been somebody 3 or 4 over. You had no idea. So you had to play the mental games with yourself and watch the clock and say, okay, and watch your cadence. And this is the pace I'm going to hold. And I'm going to pick it up at the end. And then the bike, the C2 bike, because it was 2 times meters, I think, 2x meters. You knew you were going to make up a lot of your meters for your total event score on the C2 bike. And then I think to a person, second me on this if you agree, that ski was the worst 7 minutes of skiing. It was terrible.
It was by far the worst 7 minutes of my life.
I couldn't believe it. I don't mind the ski erg. Again, I'm not the tallest, so you know I probably have to work a lot harder than the others. But it just didn't end. People were dying.
And I've seen close-up videos of people on that in B-roll footage, and it's pure agony. And it wasn't until I started getting confused in my head as I was doing it. I started losing some of my focus. I started looking at the meters thinking I only have 200 meters to go when I actually had 2 minutes to go. Like I started forgetting what I was actually counting. The amount of sweat pouring off of me onto the ski erg floor was offensive.
It was and it made it slippery too. I know the judges did a nice job of trying to clean up between, but my feet started to slip when I first stood there before we even started. And I just knew I was in for a problem when 4 minutes had elapsed and I heard the announcer say 3 minutes to go or something like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to keep? And you couldn't stop. That was the thing. So
you can't stop. You can't stop.
I in the end, again, my placement in that was better than I thought it was going to be. I look back now, maybe some of those longer events suit me a little bit better than certainly some of the short, in your face furnace blaster type workouts. But it was a well-designed test, and I'm glad we had just a minute between each machine to. If you had to just carry over, that would have been even more difficult. It was enough time to catch your breath a little bit.
Barely. One of my biggest concerns about that event, from a competitive standpoint, not concerns about the actual work that we were doing. I loved it. I love when they send us on a suicide mission first thing out of the gate. But it takes days to recover from a max effort 2K row. That can really affect our recovery and our ability to move into future workouts. So I know for me, I was near PR on my 2K row. And then I got on a bike and I pushed the bike harder than I've ever pushed it. And then getting on the ski, I pushed the ski as hard because I had Mike Kern on one side and had Vlad Leskovich on my left. And Vlad is amazing on the machines. And I did not want him to get too much of a lead on me. I had resigned to the fact that he was probably going to beat me in that event because he should beat me. And he beat me by 5 meters.
Oh,
5 meters out
when
of
you think back, out of
almost
7,000. Yeah, between 7 and 8,000.
But I was really nervous after that event. Like, I just sold myself. How is this going to affect the rest of the weekend? And it worked out okay, but boy, was that was one of those workouts that could hamstring you. But again, I love it. I love when the CrossFit Games has us run 4 miles to kick off the entire weekend,
never
like this year in 2022, where we ran and we did the heavy dumbbell push press and rope climb. So it was a huge effort, a 20-minute, 18 to 20-minute workout, however long it was, to start it off. And now, how fit can you be after you throw yourself into the fire for 20 minutes? And now you've got more events to do that day. That's just a fun way to kick it off. So I don't know if their intention is to kill us first and then see what we can do, but I like it.
Well, I think it depended on your age group, but we did event 2, Benjamin Button first. And we had not very.
Wow, you did your step ups first.
We did the thrusters and the step ups and the torque tank push first. It didn't have that long of a recovery period until we went to the ergs. So people were a little great. You were warm. Trouble is you had expended a great deal of energy prior to that. So where you started with the ergs, didn't you?
We did. Yeah, there's the first thing.
Okay, all right. And set yourself on fire.
Our legs were absolutely, we set ourselves on fire. And then we had about 2 hours before we did dumbbell step ups and thrusters, which were really hard, really, really hard.
Your legs
just a weird, your legs are dead and you've already cooked your legs. And now you're going to do it in a more specific way. And I mean, that's the good stuff right there. Well, hey, let's jump into where are we at?
Sure.
Women, 45.
No, we're in your age group.
Okay, let's talk about men.
Men 45 to 49.
All right, so it's really hard to talk about I've talked about it so much, but I'll just talk about my experience in that age group. There were a number of Games athletes returning from Legends, and a lot of returning Legends athletes. Athletes that I had competed against at the Games historically. You got Jeremiah Head, Jason Lukanon, Vlad Leskovich, Justin Lasala, Mike Kern, all Games athletes.
Mike Dubois.
Mike Dubois.
Yep.
So, you have 6-7 Games athletes there. We also have previous Legends athletes. So I've competed with Kern for the last year, the year before he was 40. He was in a younger age group. Lasala has been consistent at Legends. Jeremiah is consistent at Legends. I know Jeremiah enough to know what events he's going to win. I just tell him, like, Jeremiah, you're going to win this workout. If we got rope climbs and wall balls, you win. I don't care if we did 1,000 GHDs first. Jeremiah is going to win that event, and he did with beautiful grace. He's just a genuinely amazing human being. In my age group, I know Mike Kern struggled in event 1 as well. He is a very strong dude. He doesn't have a lot of experience on the bike erg. And, he took a big hit on that one. I think 17th. And Mike is a contender. He's always a contender. I went into the competition concerned about Mike and concerned about Vlad. And what ended up happening by day 2, I was competing with Jason Lukanon and Ryan Redkey. Ryan just aged up into our age group and won the Masters Fitness
Collective in Fort Wayne just 6 weeks prior.
Yes, and he is a strong dude. He's a strong dude. This was not designed for him. This entire event was not designed for a guy like that. Yet he pushed the entire time. He beat me in a couple of events. Jason Lukanon beat me in quite a few events, which was really concerning to me along the way. That they were really pushing, and I was at best the entire weekend. I was tied for first at best. Heading into the last event, just like all the other categories, I was behind Jason by 4 points. Ryan was within striking distance, maybe within 30 points. He could have got us if he would have to do well and we would have to do poorly, but
Probably would have had to win both. Yeah, and then have some people in between. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He needed some help.
It needed that separation.
And, Jason, in the warm-up area, I watched him cycle his front squats and thought to myself, I can't do that. I cannot cycle that fast, which was a concern. But I came that day to win. My plan was to win. I had my mindset was to figure out a way to win. And for me, it was all transitions in that last workout. It was running from point A to point B. There was a lot of yardage we had to cover, going from the start point to the bar muscle ups, to the barbell, to the bar muscle ups. So I made for fast transitions. That was the only way that I could get ahead of Lukanon, because his squat cycle was just so fast. He caught me on the set of 6. He nearly caught me on the set of 9. I mean, he caught me on the set of 12. We went 12, 9, 6. He was right there on the set of 9, and he took an extra breath before his muscle ups, and that was it. That was the only thing I had. And then once we got through that first event, I was now ahead by 2 points, but I had not won. If he beats me, he wins. That's just
I was going to say go. 6 points separate between first and second. I think it was 194.
Yes.
So absolutely.
Yep.
It was not done.
That was it. It wouldn't, if we were like, if he was 5th and I was 6th in that last event, he wins. I had to beat Jason. That's the only thing I had to worry about. And watching the live stream on that one, it was really exciting because, from my experience, Andy Sakamoto had Jason Lukanon as the favorite in the sandbag workout, but I think Jason pushed himself a little too hard in the front squat workout and was tired going into the sandbags. He was a little slower on handstand push-ups. He took his time getting back to the sandbag, and by the time I was back on handstand push-ups, he was 2 or 3 reps behind and had to break his second set of handstand push-ups, and that was it. It was at that point for me that I knew that I won the event, and I won the whole thing. It was a huge relief. The funny thing about the funny thing about going into an event like this as the 2-time champion, and I wanted to be a 3rd-time champion. There's no guarantees, but I wanted to win 3 times. Is there's not as much of a sense of excitement that I won, as much of a just relief that I did it.
Right.
Like, okay.
Probably enjoyed the last 2 years more. You had that.
Yeah,
this is fun. Now it's like,
and it
thank goodness.
Now I get that, and someone asked me the other day. They said, is it hard, the amount of pressure that, or do you feel a lot of pressure going into these things? And from externally, no, I don't. It's all pressure I put on myself. It's all self-induced.
Sure.
But what made for, I think, legends, especially for viewers who were able to watch this thing and watch the live stream. And if you haven't watched the live stream and you're watching this replay, go out and watch that Legends live stream. We want view counts. We want lots of eyeballs watching it. But there's also a lot of amazing stories with, all of these races coming down to the final event. That makes for good TV. And when you've got such amazing announcers, which we already talked about, announcing that and telling the story heading into the last event, it makes for it is it's the red zone of the football game for almost every one of these age groups. And that's all we want to watch. We don't, that's all we want to watch. We just want to watch, I want to watch all of it, but most of us want to watch the end. So, I would say, congratulations to Ryan. Ryan is a formidable 45 to 49-year-old competitor and a guy to keep an eye on this year.
I was going to say,
Lukanon as
you're
well.
You're going to have a busy year.
Competitors. Yeah. They're, I gotta, and now all I've done is make them mad. All I've done is kick a hornet's nest.
Oh, sure.
And, so that's my age group. Then again, I think Mike Kern climbed his way back up to 6th, I think 7th or 6th. I mean, a great showing from him. Jeremiah Head was up there. Jeremiah Head was up there as well. He had he struggled on some events, but other events he just is such an incredible athlete that shows up every year. So, These guys are all great, and they're all coming.
Yep.
For the record, I am nervous and afraid of all of you. If you're watching, I'm afraid of all of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about and I'm also nervous about the 40 to 44-year-olds that are coming up. But let's talk about the ladies first.
I'm sure there's a couple in here. I know of one that we'll mention his name.
Oh, I know one.
Sure. Yeah. I was sure there are probably a couple of the men aging up. But that's the thing is, we can say, we can count and figure out who's turning the next age up, and it never gets easier. Let's put it that way. But women 100%. On the 40 to 44 side, there's our podium picture. Oh wait, no, that's 45. That's you. There we go. Okay, we'll do ladies first. That was Julia Kenyon. She won by over 100 points there. Wow. And in fact, when you go back, she only had one finish outside of fourth. She was fourth or better.
That's amazing.
Every finish. It was quite a performance. She, as if she didn't need enough points on Sunday, she took a second and tied for first on the last event. So she is a 2 times games competitor herself. So she has that experience. The podium was certainly not settled going into Sunday. And an example of that was Rachel Sessa. She newly aged up into the 40 to 44 group. I think she was fourth going into the final 2 events. There's something where it sure looked like muscle ups favored her. I believe she went unbroken on the 12 and the 9. But she won Old School 1, and that put her in a position where then with a 6th place tie, that moved her from 4th all the way up to 2nd place. So that's a way to age up and celebrate with a Legends podium there. And then Amanda Cummings, she did enough to hold on as well, 40 points to secure 3rd place there. So and she did that with the tie for she won the last event, Old School 2. So that picked up enough points for her to hold on to 3rd.
Wow. Well, congratulations to all of them. Julia sounds like, do you know if she has any, did she have any previous games experience?
2 times. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Been there twice, according to.
So she's going to have a really nice shot this year as well. So fantastic. That's great. Men 40 to 44.
Men 40 to 44.
I am so grateful to not be in this age group anymore. They are insanely good.
This was Jonathan Varella's show. He and Rudy Berger, they battled back and forth. In fact, they battled each other in Madison this past year. Rudy came out on top. I think Jonathan was 5th or 6th in the games. And this was, let me switch to get the points here. I want to make sure I've got that right. Oh, where are the men? I apologize there.
Oh, take your time.
There we go. Yeah, Rudy got the best of him in Madison, but this time Jonathan got the best of Rudy. It took a 1st place and a 5th place tie on the Old School 1 and Old School 2. Beat him by 8 points, enough to hold on there. That was Chris Anderson needed. I do not believe he was 3rd going into that the final 2 events. So a 3rd and a 7th for him secured 3rd place. Yep. And then one name who I do know that you'll say here, David Johnston.
Yep.
Celebrating a birthday very soon. So yeah,
yeah, he's
somebody
who
you have experience battling with. Yeah. And a good friend of.
I battled with David in Madison during my rookie year in 2018, and he's a phenomenal athlete. I barely beat him that year, and his strength. He is a very, very strong dude. He has maintained his strength amazingly into his mid 40s, and as he bumps up into 45, he's going to be one of the strongest athletes from a strength perspective to come up. So if they're through the qualifiers or at the games, if there are tests of strength, he will demolish the field right there, which is really cool. And he's not just an amazing lifter. He is a fantastic overall athlete. And incredibly nice guy. He won the 40 to 44-year-old last year. I know that this year he was not feeling great. He almost pulled out after day 2, just not feeling good. And so I spent most of my time elbow bumping him because I didn't want to not feel good either. So, but he was just getting over a bug, and that's still fun for him. But David Johnston, we've got our eyes on you, man. Welcome to the 45-year-old division. We'll welcome you with open arms. And take it easy on us, okay? Just because you're so young.
You could say that.
Someone who's watching live, he mentions this comment. He says, when you age up, you kind of have a 4-year advantage than the older guy, which is really true. And I wanted to think that when I was, turning 40 or when I was 43 or 44, I wanted to think that age didn't matter, that we could really
it does.
it does. It really does. I think about myself and my fitness in 2018 versus 2023, and there's certain areas where I am a better athlete now than I was then. But there's other areas where I have to be paying attention to the fact that I'm 47, and in 3 years I'll be 50. And I mean, that'll be nice. When I age into your age group, you'll still be 54. So I'll sneak in before you're out for that 1 year.
Yes.
But is that right? Yeah. One.
Yes.
Slight,
we overlap by a year.
Yep. By a year. And it's a big deal. Yes, the guys that age up, obviously there's an advantage. And that's an interesting thing about being a Masters athlete, because you actually look forward to, when you're on the latter half a decade, you look forward to that aging up process. Like, I can't wait till I'm 50 and I could be 50 and 51. I could be the younger guy in this age group. And then we have to think about, how do we approach our, what do I do when I'm 48, 49? And do I go all out, or do I take a step back and just train for when I'm 50? That'll be interesting things for me to think about.
Right. You're going to have a couple of decisions.
But it is a reality for all of us.
Yeah. You don't think it, but your body just, no matter how you train, I still think your body just has a way of slowing you down. Everything is just a step slower. It's, and again, how we treat ourselves at 52, 3, or 4 is different than we always call them baby masters at 35 to 39. Maybe a 38-year-old recovers a little bit better and can be as competitive with the 35-year-olds. But that 3 years difference in the older age categories, I'm finding, and you know the names that you compete with across these competitions over the years, and we've both been at it a long time. You get older and you slow down. I mean, it's just, you don't mean to. You're trying not to.
Yeah, you don't mean to. Believe me, anybody who's watching, and those of you, anyone who's watching as a Masters athlete, we are doing everything possible to slow down the actual aging process that is natural and that happens. We're doing everything we can. I would love to say that these little gray hairs aren't spreading, but when when I turn 50, so I'm going to have exactly where you're at. I'm going to be that guy right there. All right, let's jump back in. Let's see.
Finish it up here. We're with
all right.
Maybe they don't like
children of Masters.
Yeah. Baby Masters here. Women will go women
baby
first.
Masters.
Women 35 to 39. That was Amy Morton's weekend. She stood on top of the podium. There's the picture. Yep. She was on top by a little over 80 points, I believe. Yeah, almost 80 points.
Yeah.
She has it. Here when you've talked about this age group and converse, or also with the men 35 to 39, you have some athletes in these age groups now that have games experience on the team side, if not the individual side, as they've aged up. So here are athletes that are just certainly looking to get into that 35-year-old division. And when you can say, like, Amy has experience at the games in 2017 on a team, I think it was Ocean States. That tells you that the caliber of athlete that she is here. She did win 4 of her last 6 events to really seal the deal there. Jamie Lattimore did enough on her final day. She took a 5th and a 3rd as well. Allison Stahl was second going into that last day, but Jamie edged her out. So Allison still stands on the podium that you just showed. Congratulations to those ladies. Everybody wanting to stay healthy, and I know that they have sights set on more in the next 4 months.
Yes. Well, Amy was funny. I'll tell you, she was just really helpful before the final event. She grabbed me, and Jeremiah came out with me. We couldn't find a spot to practice handstand push-ups. Maybe you knew, but we didn't know there was a spot to warm up those handstand push-ups anywhere. But if you went into the second gym area, out the garage door, in the other door, there were some walls where you could practice that. And she said that there was actually kind of a slant on the ground in the handstand push-up area in the event, just where the padding goes over the posts. There was a little bit of a slant. So she had some 10-pound plates to put under the handstand push-up mat to practice your handstand push-ups at a slight angle. And whenever someone pulls you to the side and says, "Hey, I've got a little idea for you," or "Hey, here's the inside scoop," or you and I did this at the games. You came off of the ring muscle up workout and said, "Jason, I did 15 ring muscle ups unbroken." And I had a different plan in my head. I was going to break up my 20 ring muscle ups. But when you told me that, I thought to myself, I'm going to go unbroken for basically a personal
absolutely
PR.
Needed to.
And,
Yep.
And I won the event. I was the only one to get through that. I know that you were you the only one to go 15 unbroken in yours?
Oh no. Eric Smith was next to me, and we joked afterwards. We could see each other. And he's not dropping. You're not dropping. He jumped up, so he had a rep ahead of me, and I was waiting for him to drop, and he never dropped, so I wasn't going to drop either. I was like, no, can't do that.
Well, it's funny because he didn't drop and you didn't drop. That made me not drop. And it's great. So it was really fun to have Amy pull us aside and give us that idea, because none of us in our age group, we couldn't find a spot to do handstand push-ups. And she saw that we were all kind of looking around, like, how do we just get one in? And that's one of the things that at a competition, there's always things to learn. There's always somebody who picked up something, a little nugget. And I know that for me, every time I walked back into the warm-up area, I would catch the 40-year-olds, I'd catch the 35-year-olds, and I'd say, okay, here's how to approach this workout. Given my experience, here's how to do it. And it's always fun to pass along that little bit of inside information. I think people appreciate it. And this is our Super Bowl. I mean, this is where we're going to have all the camaraderie. And as long as you're not in my age group, I'll tell you all the secrets in competition,
Yeah. And for all of us in the same age group, we're just looking at each other. Just watching each other.
Yeah, looking. Yeah, we're totally looking. We're pretending not to watch, but we're totally watching what. Oh, you're gonna go down broken on that? Oh, you're gonna cycle that fast on front squats? Okay, I got eyes on you, buddy. All right, let's go to the men. 35 to 39.
This was the final part of the broadcast, the final heat. Before the podium, for those that earned the podium, like yourself and others. Ryan Smith. He's the men's Legends 2022 champ for 35 to 39. Michael Pass did take second, held him off. What was nice, or it was interesting in this age group, was how Travis Flanagan, he needed a pretty strong last 3 events in order to secure third place there on the podium, because he was, I think, 5th going in. I could be wrong. He was 5th going in with 3 events left to go. Give a tip of the cap there to Mr. Flanagan. So again, watching these guys operate is something, again, like I'm just not familiar with. I mean, they're generally 14 or 15 years younger than I am. Completely different athlete, completely different engine. Incredible respect for all of the athletes, but when you can watch the younger ones move as well as they all do, and you realize, like, wow, this is going to be something people that like to compete, want to stay healthy, future's going to be pretty bright.
Yes. I'll admit that today was the first day I watched the 35 to 39-year-olds complete the final 2 events, and they were touch and go on those sandbags. And I mean, I was willing, if I needed to win, I was willing to go touch and go, but I didn't want to. It's so devastating to the body. And again, yeah, you're right to think that these guys are, you know,
It's
at
about
most
12 years with
younger
you.
than me.
Yeah, probably.
That's legitimate. And
I know.
you know, I've worked out with 30 to 35-year-olds, and they do have a capacity that is, you know, really, they're on the border of the individual athletes. Oh, I mean, think Rich Froning just turned 35, and I got to spend a couple of months observing him training and train with him a little bit. And the dude is insane. And if he enters the Masters category,
correct.
He has not confirmed that or denied that specifically, but I mean, he is training like a games athlete. This is all he knows how to do. And he was actually working on rehabbing just an injury. He had a little shoulder thing. And then over the past couple of weeks, when I was at Cookville, he just went back to full-time training. The dude still destroys 20-year-olds. It's incredible what he can do. And he's 35, and that's what these guys were. You know, watching Ryan Smith, Travis in particular, and Michael on that final event, I was blown away at their speed in those last two events, but especially the way they move that sandbag. Is the way I can move a 100-pound sandbag.
The way they move 150.
Yeah, right. It's something else. And so I love that we have 35-year-olds in our age group. I love that they are part of us, and that they are able to really display some elite fitness. And the 35 to 39-year-old division is absolutely no joke. You know, Kyle Kasperbauer in 2021, in that age group, that guy snatched 277 pounds, I think. 277 pounds as a 39-year-old. I'm sorry. Kyle Kasperbauer was a 39-year-old when he snatched that much. I mean, that's craziness. And, you know, as we sort of wrap this up, congratulations, Ryan, Michael, Travis, and all of the Legends athletes that competed, laid it
great
out.
Community.
You know, there were
absolutely
great community. There were guys, you know, John with the handlebar mustache who had the crowd. Such a great guy. He was in my age group. You know, for guys like him,
he won the attendance record for most largest cheering section.
Most fans, largest cheering section. Largest cheering section, and
great shirts.
Probably the best.
That makes it fun.
I mean, yeah, there was the fun thing about a competition like this is there's even a battle to get into the final heat. Like the final heat is an honorable spot to be in. You know, we all have our own unique goals, and it doesn't always have to be the top of the podium. Sometimes it can be, I want to be at Legends competing with these guys or these ladies. I want to compete at the caliber that they compete at. And then once you get there, you get some experience, and you know, I want to be in the higher heats. Whatever it is, the goals that people set for themselves are really cool. And he was in the final heat on the last day, and you know, for him, it was just literally the dream that he could script for himself. And then I'm talking afterwards, like that guy's got a heck of an engine. But we got to watch out for him. If the Open and the semifinals is very engine heavy, he's going to be our guy. But what a great event to be able to you know, showcase all of the Masters and give Masters athletes an opportunity to be center stage. And speaking of that, did you enjoy the stage with the lights on it? You know, just having that much focus.
Super.
How great
it was super bright. You didn't realize it was it could be that bright because the first couple of days those lights were not on, and I just thought it felt like you were in a gym. But when they turned those lights on, it felt like you were on a stage. So we have to thank everybody involved on the Mayhem side, and Bob and Joe for being smart enough to partner with an organization like that, because I think that brought a lot of athletes to Mayhem that might not have made the trip to wherever 2 weeks before Christmas. But that stage was something else. I was on an end lane. There was not a lot of room between my lane and the fence along the side there. So the crowd was interested. they were into it, and they were loud, and you really had it's a feeling that's hard to describe. You cannot replicate during
Yes.
training, no matter what you try to do, who you train with.
No.
You have to be out there on the competition floor to have that adrenaline running, and be under the lights. Here you could say literally
Yes.
under the lights. I mean, it was bright out there.
Yep.
It felt great.
It was under the lights, and you've got cameras on you. You've got people. The media
Yes.
team is paying attention to each. You've got the official photographers. You've got the media team. You have the broadcast team. It's our CrossFit Games, just up close and in person.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
you know, it's interesting when you're in the middle of a competition. You're selling your soul. You're breathing like crazy. You're doing thrusters or dumbbell step ups, or you're doing bar muscle ups, and at the same time, you're aware that there's someone with a camera right in front of you. And you,
how many times has that happened? Never.
I mean, yeah, you know, it's not something that we get to do that often, but we get to, as Masters athletes, we get to participate in that. So I agree with you. You know, Bob and Joe, the founders of Legends Competition, you know, partnering with Mayhem, with Rory, Jake at Mayhem, with Rich, Josh, that run the gym there.
Facilities.
It was just an amazing experience. Well, guys, we're at an hour and 5 minutes. Thank you for tuning into this. It's absolutely fantastic to have you. Thanks for giving attention to Masters athletes. We love talking about Masters athletes. We hope to do this a lot in the future. This is our first time being able to do a quick broadcast to share about you know, the individual leaders or the individual podiums for each age category. We want to be able to do this more in the future. If you like content like this, please like and subscribe to the channel. Click a like in here because we just appreciate it. Appreciate the comments. Share this with any Masters athletes that you think would find this beneficial. And Rick, to you, you are now a part of the team officially in our extensive broadcast team that now has 2 people on it. We'll have you again.
We'll take it. Thank you very much.
Of you,
thank you for asking.
Thank you, and stay warm.
Happy holidays,
everyone. I will. I'll do my best. Happy holidays, and everyone have a good night.
Take care.